Jane E. Ryan with us. She is a writer, an author, and now, same thing, writer, author, and a filmmaker as well, right?
A budding filmmaker.
Budding filmmaker. So we're going to get into a little details about her film in a moment. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about these two books. You've written three.
Correct.
We're going to start first with Broken Spirits, Lost Souls. Now, this was on the publisher's best-selling list?
For a while, yes, it was.
For a while. That's a very high honor. So tell us a little bit about this book.
That is a nonfiction book, and it's about children with what's called reactive attachment disorder, which is a serious disorder for children who have experienced trauma within the first 33 months of their life. A lot of the literature says that it's a very rare, but that's not true.
Really?
It's very common among children who have been displaced, adoptive children, foster children, or children who have been in homes where there have been any kind of trauma going on. Interested
of how this book came about then. How were you so interested in this one in particular?
Well, I'm the mother of several children, and two of my children, I'm an adoptive mother and a bio mom, and two of my adopted children came home at very young ages with what turned out to be reactive attachment disorder, but we didn't know for many, many years. And so I was totally frustrated and very isolated because nobody really believed me. So that came about as a way of helping other parents so they didn't have to go through the same thing
that you went through.
Right.
That's fantastic. So this is, unlike The Border, is this a nonfiction?
That's nonfiction.
This is nonfiction.
Right.
Okay. So we want to get on to The Border, which is her book that is actually going to be made into a film this
Correct.
summer, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. But tell us a little about The Border.
Actually, I wrote the screenplay first. This book just came out a week ago.
Really? You wrote the play? Wow.
The screenplay first. I always say I'm left-handed and dyslexic, and so things don't always turn out the way that I intended. But this is a nonfiction book,
okay.
And it's a fictionalized story about a family that it takes in a street child who has attachment disorder. You know, I'm very driven to teach about this, and so. I'm wet.
No, that's okay. This is good. Tell me why that's so important to you. I think
because so many people have these children and don't know what it is, for one thing, and many of them wouldn't be able to read this book. It's too big and too fat, and I just decided that it would be really good to have a nonfiction book that I could make into a movie where people would go and maybe enjoy the story or be able to grasp what this is about.
You are so passionate about that, and I love that because I think that makes it even better of a read because I know how much it means to your heart. Will you tell us a little bit then what it's like of being a mother with children who suffer with this?
It's very isolating because the children look very good to strangers, but they don't do well in a home. You know, they don't do well when there are expectations of them or when they are expected to love back. And so most of the children, when they go out of the house, they look wonderful. And then the mother's in the background, like pulling out her hair. And part of the diagnosis is to look at the children and to listen to the parents. And if you've got a mom that's like, you know, looks berserk, then you might have an attachment disorder kid because mother is the target of, and many of the children are very dangerous. And some of them are homicidal. And the mother is practically always the target because historically, medically, neurologically, it is the mother that is charged with caring for the child and keeping the child safe.
Sure.
And if something happened, if there was some kind of trauma that the mother couldn't do that, then the child is extremely hurt, but looks rageful. And so often the children will harm the mother and then harm the other children. The father, interestingly enough, is usually manipulated, so the father often has no idea what's going on.
What's even going on?
Yeah.
This is very fascinating, and we're going to talk more with Jane E. Ryan and a little bit about how this book is turning into a film right after the break. We are back with author Jane E. Ryan and the cinematographer of this new film coming out, Carmen Cabana. So thank you, Carmen, for joining us.
Thank you very
much.
And
we were just talking, and Peggy was in here talking too, that you guys have such a connection. So tell us how that connection came about.
Well, I was getting ready to film The Border, and I was looking for people to help make it good. And I talked to a friend of mine who's Jason Levering, who is the executive director of the Omaha Film Festival. and I said that I needed a good cinematographer or the director of photography, and he told me about Carmen. He'd heard about her. Her reputation preceded her, and so I emailed her, and she was in Venezuela at the time, which is her home base.
Sure.
And so we've been writing, and we didn't meet until last week.
Really?
Uh-huh.
First time you've met.
So we've spent several days trying to keep her from freezing to death.
Yeah, I bet this is a big difference for
That was
you.
a huge effort, though.
So tell us then, Carmen, why why are you so interested in this film in particular?
Well, the story in the first place, because I hear a lot of psychology problems within families, and I never heard of reactive attachment disorder, but I think it explains a lot of things that we see in our society nowadays. And just the fact that what happens to a child at such an early age really affects the rest of their life and could turn them, into homicides and stuff like that. I think it's a big deal, and also I think the mother figure is very important to society and to what a human being is going to be afterwards. So when I read Jane's story and I saw, oh my God, these really changing these kids, and they see the mother as an enemy, and that's really, a big mark for them when they grow up. I thought that was a big deal, and it was something meaningful that people should learn about and learn how to deal with it, because it's such a difficult situation. So I felt it would really help, educate and make these families feel that they are not alone. And the fact, that Jane, wrote, such wonderful books, and now she's pushing this project, and the whole town is just crazy about the project and about her ideas. So that really makes me respect her, and it's so much worth coming into the cold.
Oh, look at see, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Now, this is going to happen this summer, right?
Correct.
That it's going to
July.
start being filmed right in Ravenna.
July, correct.
A particular reason why you chose Ravenna?
Well, I have this romantic idea about where I could write, which is funny because I live alone with my cat. But I came to Ravenna, and I went to the bed and breakfast called the Printed Page in Ravenna on the main street. And while I was sitting there on the front porch writing, I watched Ravenna go by, and this is a beautiful home. And I started thinking, as I was writing this novel, I started putting it in the rooms in the bed and breakfast. And so the owner is Sharon Loy, and she's a new owner, and I said to her, what would you think about filming a movie here? And she kind of like, yes.
Laugh, sure.
Yes, yeah,
Sure,
sure.
right.
It's like, sure we will.
Right, like that'll never happen.
And I was also going for walks around town, and every time I would go for a walk, I would find some other site in Ravenna that was in the book.
That
And
inspired
was
you to be in the book.
And so I started thinking, gosh, this would be like perfect. And so I went to the mayor and said, how about it? And he thought that would be a great idea. And the people of Ravenna are very, very supportive, and we're getting all excited because it's actually happening.
And it's happening this summer. Are you still taking spots for extras in the movie? How does that work?
Yes, I have many of my actors already set.
Okay.
But we decided in probably about March we would have auditions for extras.
Okay.
And for some of the smaller roles, and that will be in Ravenna, and we will announce it. And that's so fun. I mean, that's so fun to participate in
Absolutely.
that.
And we're constantly updating the website.
Okay.
So, for more information, what's going on, thebordermovie.com.
thebordermovie.com, and we're out of time, and you guys have to keep us updated on the progress, and we'll have you back on and have details
Facebook
on
and
it.
Twitter,
I
too.
like that. Facebook, all up
Follow
with
the
technology,
community.
and that website will be on our website at Nebraska.tv. Be sure to click on that NTV's Good Life tab. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
We'll be
very
right
much.
back after the break.